Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Creative Contact. I'm your host, Kia Orion. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys checking this out. I wanted to come to you live and direct because it's been a minute since I've done one of these updates, and prompted by a good friend, I realized that there's so much going on that I should document more of the process because I'm learning a lot out here. I feel like I'm getting my MBA online in online marketing from Google, from YouTube, from all of that jazz. And so, that being said, this isn't going to be one of those episodes that is packed and has crazy content. It's just sort of where I'm at, with life and music and love and everything in between like that. So, first things first, I wanted to give people an update on the music stuff. And for the most part, it's been going pretty well. I'm still not at the point where I can fully make my income off of just the music. I'm still teaching English part-time, but being out here, it's such a different ball game. It allows you to, it's the best decision I've ever made, seriously. And I can't emphasize enough how much I would recommend people come give this a shot if it's even close to being on your radar. Because if you break it down at the end of the day, what really makes you happy? A lot of my podcast episodes coming forward are going to talk about this mindset and knowledge of self and things of that nature that I find really important, because I think we so often get caught up in what we think is supposed to make us happy, or in what makes other people happy, that we don't forget, but maybe we don't have the guts to maybe say, you know what, I really just love to crochet, or I really just love to bake, whatever it is, X, Y, and Z. And so what Chiang Mai and moving out here has allowed me to do is just reverse engineer my dream, really. I took a look at where I was at in my life. I'd been a substitute teacher for about a year and a half in inner city Philly public schools, which was an adventure in itself. Amazing kids, but underfunded, so that was incredibly challenging. I had worked in marketing. I'd sold energy on the side of the street. I was a bartender. I was a busboy. Whatever, you name it, I probably did it for a little bit just to try to make ends meet to pursue the music thing. And so I realized that if I could make less, if I could spend less on my monthly bills, rent, utilities, etc., then I could free up time to do more things that I wanted to do, which was make music, still is make music, do the podcast, work out, train martial arts, whatever it is. And I remember at the time, this was probably, now it's crazy, the time goes so fast. This was probably maybe 8 months ago, 7-8 months ago. And I'd been applying for jobs all throughout Philly, whether it was at UPenn, whether it was at Drexel. There were so many jobs that I had applied for and got rejected from all of them. I think I got like 3 interviews maybe. And I have, I have a fancy schmancy degree, and I could barely even land an interview in higher ed. And in a way, this is one of those aspects of life that, they have all those mantras about of, when one door closes, another opens and all that bullshit. But I think it's true. I think this was life's way of saying, you know what, I wasn't supposed to land any of those jobs, because that's what kicked my ass into a gear to get out here. But I still remember the moment. It was months and months and months, all these rejection letters coming in. I was doing everything I could. I was trying to get my LinkedIn swagged out. I was hitting up Cornell alum, trying to network and see if anybody could hook me up with something. Nothing was coming through. And I remember I was in a job interview for a writing position at Temple. It was for a content writer, something of, I would be covering different things going on campus, right? And so then I was in the interview, I was looking around and I was asking them, about the job, and I could just tell, going from one person to the next, that nobody was really happy. It just felt like they were all playing a game, and I was on this sort of sinking ship. That's what I would be joining, is that they needed a lot of help. But I love to write, but I don't want to write about the fucking food trucks on campus. You know what I mean? That's just not That's not what inspires me. And so when I think about, I kept trying to fit this square notch into a round peg. Like, I was like, every job would have these little bits to it that I liked, but it wasn't quite exactly what I wanted. And I remember being in that interview and being like, I don't even want this fucking job. Like, what am I doing here? And I remember leaving, and as I was walking out that building, I can still remember this so vividly, down to the moment I had the epiphany that if I moved back home with my mom and dad, that I wouldn't have to pay rent, and then I could make as much music as I wanted to. And it was this crazy light bulb went off. I don't know why. I never considered that as an option before, but to move home and to free yourself of rent would then free up all the time that I was spending working just to pay my goddamn rent. And that was the beginning of the end when I started to say, you know what, I'd love to move home with mom and dad. I love mom and pop, and I'm really blessed to have a great family. But I was like, what if there's a place where other people are doing this sort of stuff and building their own online businesses? And that's when I started to Google, figured out a couple different places, and there were a couple cities that did have this community of people all doing similar things, and Chiang Mai happened to be at the top of the list because it was one of the cheapest cities. And so within those 2 months, I sold all my shit. I got someone to take over the lease for my apartment, and I got a job teaching English online and working part-time teaching English. It was $20 an hour, but it's a VIP kid. If you're interested, hit me up. I'm more than happy to coach you through it. I was really fortunate to have a friend named Daniel Luca who coached me through the process and made it relatively painless. And it's not like it's my favorite job in the world to teach English online, but it's a means to an end. And it's what was able to get my ass out here and to make money while I was out here at first. And so now that I'm actually out here, I've been out here almost 6 months, which is insane to me. It just brought everything into focus that what's really important at the end of the day is your own sanity, and you can't live by what everybody else thinks. And unfortunately, I think that's what most of us do, myself included. The past 4 years in Philly, it never occurred to me that travel doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg and doesn't have to be expensive. It was always that misconception in my mind that, to travel, it's going to cost a ton of money, when in fact the opposite is true, that it's not about saving up a ton of money and retiring on a, like Scrooge McDuck on big fat sacks of cash so you can go sit on a beach somewhere. You can find the exact life that you want. You can, as long as you aren't trying to buy Lamborghinis and do a bunch of stupid superficial shit, you can have that life that you want right now if you are willing to make some sacrifices and take that leap. Because out here in Chiang Mai, for my rent, my utilities, my phone bill, my internet bill, all those bills, and everything included, water, gas, whatever, it's all about $300 a month. And it's one of the nicest apartments I've ever lived in, fastest internet I've ever had, best phone plan I've ever had, et cetera, et cetera. You get the point that you don't necessarily have to make crazy sacrifices in order to make this work. If you live in some place that's more expensive out in Europe, maybe it might not be able to come true. But if you just want to sit on a beach somewhere and kick back, relax, you could make that happen. But trust me, after a couple months of that, you're going to be like, damn, I want to do something. And out here, it's really opened my mind up to how many options there are to make money online, whether that's through drop shipping, whether that's Amazon FBA, whether that's you run a consultant business, whether that's selling online courses, like you name it. There's a million ways to skin a cat. It's just which angle you want to take. And so it's been such a learning experience for me, and really opened my mind up to so many different things about opportunities that the internet provides that in our traditional kind of 9 to 5 clock in, clock out environment, you don't necessarily think of. myself, that's why I've been working bullshit jobs the past 4 years, because it didn't occur to me either. So I'm not saying that I'm enlightened and know everything, but it's cool to kind of peek behind the curtain and see, okay, I'm not the only one. There are a bunch of other people actually doing the same thing that have similar priorities of embracing travel and freedom. And so that's partially what this update is just had that a lot on my mind recently, of being like, when I'm talking to friends, when I'm talking to family, I'm like, dude, this is not a pipe dream. You can make this happen. You just got to have the guts to take the leap. And I realize it's a privileged position to be in, to be able to make that happen, and to not have those ties in my life like a kid or a spouse or anything. Although there's still people out here that are doing that. And so for my life update, when it comes to happiness, it's honestly the happiest I've ever been. And although college was a blast and those were some of the best 4 years of my life, even in college, I was talking to my buddy last night about this. Shout out Dylan one time. That this is what I've been wanting to do since I was 19. Ever since I started making beats, I started making music. I went to college because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. Thought that's what I should do. But when I was not in classes or chasing girls or whatever, I was making beats. I was making music, even in college. And it always was like my side piece. It was like, oh, I was doing this and this, but like maybe at night I'll be able to make some time for my music. And then, you graduate, you get a quote unquote real job, you grow up. And it was the same shit where I was like, wow, I'm working now 9 to 5, and then, the music's the side piece. And it finally, even when I sacrificed the typical career and I said, okay, let me get my bartender's license and just try something else so that I can start doing art, you still work a ton as a bartender, as a busboy even. That was the most work I've ever done, which is crazy. But those were 12-hour shifts. You're in the back, you're running around, you're setting tables, you're folding napkins, you're trying to fill people's water, you're getting chewed out by your boss. It was all this bullshit that now, finally, at 26, 27, I can say, I can wake up every morning so excited to get after it, because I'm actually doing shit that I want to do. And the fact that I have the opportunity to try is motivation enough. Even though the progress is super slow, super steady, I'm making sales, but it's not like I'm rolling in cash. But just to have the opportunity to try is so inspiring for me that I feel like winning. And I'm going to say this, if you're tuning in, something I've said, I'm going to keep saying this. I feel like winning is a foregone conclusion, because it's just not a matter of, for me, I just feel it's a matter of when. And that might sound cocky and what have you, but I just believe it, fully believe it. It's the truth. And you have to be slightly delusional and have that self-belief to make this dream come true. And I can't describe how I know or why I know, but it's because I just know I have the patience to slog this out until it works. I just know that I can endure more than 99% of the folks out there. That I'm not the smartest, not the most physically gifted. I'm not, clever. All those traits. I'm a steady average guy, but I can endure like it's my motherfucking job. Patience is my superpower. And that's just why I know that I'm going to be able to make it work, because it can't not work. If you put the work in and you're willing to grind and learn, this is the day and age where you can learn anything that you want to, because it's all online. And so I know that I have the inspiration to learn and to put the time in to get it done. And so it's really just going to be a matter of time before I'm able to transition this thing into full time. And so this first podcast, I want to give you an update kind of where I'm at with that, and hopefully inspire some folks to take action, because everything is a choice. And I was fortunate enough to hear a podcast by this guy named Johnny FD when I was back in Philly. I remember I was cooking dinner. I had this podcast on. He was talking to a guy that was doing the same sort of digital nomad thing. And it just clicked for me that it's not that crazy or difficult to do if you're willing to just take the leap and know that once you get out here, you'll figure it out. You don't have to have everything figured out before you come over. You don't have to worry about the visas and blah, blah, blah. You get 30 days, you can figure it out, and have the belief that once you get over here, there are people that are that have done this, that have been doing this and done this before, and they'll show you the ropes. They'll help you. There are communities in these little pockets of places for digital nomads and all over the world, man, where people are much more, we're scared of the unknown. And once you get there, you realize people are much more welcoming and accepting than you might even realize. And so what I'm going to be doing with these updates now, I've been slacking on the podcast just because I've been just so carried away trying to build this thing. But I realized I was talking to my friend Alec the other day. I was telling him I've gotten really into virtual assistants. And he was like, dude, you should update, you should document this. He's like, this is crazy. He's like, I wasn't even thinking about that. And so I was like, man, that's a really good point. So every week I'm going to be checking in with you, kind of documenting the journey, things that I've learned, what I'm focused on, what are some roadblocks, just because I think that there's a value in the journey in itself. I think hopefully it's somewhat entertaining as I figure it out. I mean, for me it is because it's my life, but for you it might seem fucking boring. But I hope that there's some value in the lessons I've learned along the way and showing people that it's really not as hard as it seems to if you can jump in head first, you will figure it out, and people will be there to help you along the way. So I'm going to wrap this up here now, but this is just kind of to let you know the updates will now be every week. I just released my first beat tape called Life Beats Volume 1. Check that joint out. I've been steady trying to make as much music as possible. I've been trying to release one song a week that I've actually made the beat and wrote lyrics and sang or rapped on, mixed and mastered. I've been trying to release 3 beats a week, and now I'm going to shoot for 1 podcast a week. Podcast and maybe a video cast too, just because I want to have proof. To keep it totally 1,000 with you, I want to have proof when I'm killing it at some point that I can look back and say, yo, remember those days when we were scraping by? I still have some photos saved in my phone of screenshots of when my bank account had like 0 money, because I can just feel it, man. One of these days you're going to get it cracking. And it's not about the money for me, but I can't wait to have enough money to have the freedom that I don't have to scrounge so much for it. I don't have to do the fucking part-time bullshit. But I can just really focus on the craft full time, make enough money to enjoy myself and travel, etc., etc. Because isn't that really what life is about? And to be honest, I'm getting pretty damn close. And so that's where I'm at this week. I'll really dive into more specifics and stuff during my next update. I'm going to try to keep these at maybe 30 minutes. There'll be stories about what's going on in that week, or where I'm at. And right now it's been a whirlwind because the VAs, I've been hiring an assistant. I've hired an editor who's the man, and I'm hiring a designer. And if you open up your mind to the idea of outsourcing things or getting help and not having to be such a control freak and handle everything, by yourself, it allows you when you think of all the things that you could outsource. If you write down a list. The next episode that's what I'll do is I'll talk about the hiring process, because for me, I've found so many qualified candidates. I've been doing interviews. I've been doing, Skype calls, just trying to narrow down people to bring on and build a small team. And you can do it for it's very affordable, and you can get really good people that want to help you and believe in the cause if you know where to look. And that has been an absolute game changer for me. It's just, that's what I'm seeing people out here do too. The point, and this is shout out to Tim Ferriss for the 4-Hour Work Week. The point isn't to build a huge business and make a ton of money. It's to build some sort of a business that you're inspired by and allows you the time and freedom to live the life that you want to live. So that's where I'm at with it. Inspired, struggling, but we still out here. So hold that thought. The next time I come to you, let's talk about kind of where I'm at outsourcing, what's been going on with me that week, struggles that I'm having. And I appreciate you tuning in, checking any of this stuff out, being a part of the journey. Please, if you have questions, reach out. If you're stoked, if you're inspired, reach out. It can sometimes get a little lonely, trapped in this world by yourself. But I also feel blessed because I know a lot of folks out there support me, and support the music. Even if people don't know me, they're like, "Who the fuck is this dude?" But if you support the music, that means the world. So thank you for tuning in. That's just a quick, brief little inspirational update for y'all. I'll be putting these out every single week. And soon, once I can get my routine down and get someone to maybe help me with that as well, I'm going to be having a couple of these a week that'll actually have tips and tactics for your production, your music, your artist game. You know what it is. Creative Contact. Quick update. Over and out. Stay tuned for some shit next week. Thank you for tuning in again. As always, Kia Orion. Peace.